Absolutely. Here's a fully fleshed out, cinematic, and emotionally gripping story based on your title. I've written it in long, flowing paragraphs, designed for a 2,000-word YouTube video, with natural pacing, suspense, and emotional depth. I've included 2 engagement moments in your special comment request. The office was quiet, almost oppressively so, except for the low hum of computers and the soft whirring of air conditioners. I had been fixing computers for years, but nothing could have prepared me for that day when a simple tech call would become one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. She was sitting there, in a pristine corner office on the 34th floor, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, her laptop stubbornly refusing to turn on. I could feel her frustration before she even spoke, the tension in the room thick enough to slice through. When I looked at her, I saw not just a CEO but a woman carrying the weight of an empire on her shoulders, a mask of strength hiding a quiet vulnerability. Little did I know, helping her with a computer would also make her confront something far deeper, her own self-doubt. Before I go further, if you believe in kindness, empathy, and second chances, make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a heartwarming story, and subscribe to the channel, Lonely Dad Strong Heart. She didn't speak much at first, only giving me brief, clipped instructions, her sharp gaze measuring me in a way that made me nervous. I worked on her laptop, noticing the meticulous way her office was arranged, the neat piles of documents, the awards lining the shelves, the photographs of her family tucked behind the glass frame. Everything spoke of a life she had built through relentless determination, but there was an emptiness behind her eyes I couldn't ignore. The computer turned out to be a simple hardware issue, but fixing it felt like a slow dance with her energy. She watched me closely, biting her lip whenever I paused, tapping her fingers against the mahogany desk like a nervous heartbeat. I tried to keep the conversation light, asking her about the work she was doing, about the people in her company. Gradually, her posture softened. There was a fleeting smile as she spoke about a charitable project she was spearheading, one that helped children in underserved communities. I could see the warmth behind the polished exterior, a humanity that was rarely visible in boardrooms or business meetings. And then, just when the last lines of code had been sorted and her laptop hummed back to life, she looked at me differently. Her eyes weren't sharp or evaluating anymore, they were hesitant, almost fragile. She leaned back in her chair and asked me something that caught me entirely off guard. "Do you think I'm pretty?" I froze, tools still in hand, unsure if I had heard her correctly. In that moment, the towering CEO, the woman who had conquered industries and shattered glass ceilings, seemed smaller, almost human in her uncertainty. It was a question I hadn't expected, a raw plea for validation from someone who appeared invincible. And in that instant, I realized that appearances, power, and titles could never shield someone from doubt or loneliness. She wasn't asking about her beauty in a superficial way, she was asking if she mattered, if she was seen, if all the battles she had fought meant something to someone other than herself. I didn't have a ready answer, so I took a deep breath. I told her that what I saw was someone strong, someone who inspired others without even trying, someone whose smile could light up a room. But I also told her that beauty isn't just about the face or the way you carry yourself, it's in your courage, your kindness, your willingness to face life even when it's heavy. I saw her exhale slowly, as if a weight she hadn't noticed she was carrying had finally lifted. That moment felt suspended in time, the city below fading away, leaving only 2 people who had just glimpsed the truth behind their masks. Over the next few hours, we talked more openly than either of us expected. She shared fragments of her life, the relentless pressure, the sacrifices, the quiet moments when she felt alone despite being surrounded by people. I shared my story too, of being a single dad, raising my child while trying to carve out a life that felt meaningful. She listened in a way that was rare for anyone in her position, not just hearing but understanding. There was a vulnerability in sharing pain, a relief in realizing that someone else carried their own burdens too. And that's when the first real connection began to form, not one of status, or job title, or accomplishments, but a human connection born of empathy and shared struggle. As the day stretched into evening, the office lights cast long shadows across the polished floor, and the city's glow began to shimmer through the glass. She laughed softly at a story I told about a parenting disaster, a laugh that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside, untouched by the stress of deadlines and board meetings. And I realized then that life often surprises you in the most unexpected ways. A simple act of helping someone with a computer could turn into a profound lesson about humanity, beauty, and trust. She thanked me, of course, but not in the way you would expect. There were no grand gestures, no applause or public recognition. It was a quiet, heartfelt gratitude that lingered long after I had left her office. That night, I drove home thinking about how fragile people are behind the facades they show the world, and how important it is to offer kindness without expecting anything in return. Sometimes, the smallest acts, the ones we think are insignificant, leave the deepest marks on someone's life. Weeks later, she sent me a brief message, just a few lines, telling me how much that day had meant to her. She admitted that she had never let anyone see her self-doubt before, and that sharing it had been terrifying but liberating. I read the message sitting at my kitchen table, the hum of my own laptop in the background, and I realized that life's most profound connections are often the ones that start in the most unexpected moments. Helping her with a computer had been a small task, but it had opened a door to trust, vulnerability, and human understanding that neither of us would ever forget. If this story touched your heart, I want you to take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Every gesture of kindness matters, and every view spreads a little hope in a world that can sometimes feel too heavy. Before we close, I'd love for you to leave a comment sharing a moment when a small act of kindness changed your day or even your life. Let's remind each other that compassion is powerful. Life has a way of teaching us lessons in the quietest, most unassuming ways. Sometimes it's through a child's laughter, sometimes through a stranger's smile, and sometimes through a question as simple and profound as, "Do you think I'm pretty?" That question reminded me that even the strongest among us crave reassurance, and even the smallest gestures can leave a lasting impact. And as I sit here now, reflecting on that day, I realize that the real beauty in life isn't in perfection or titles. It's in the courage to be vulnerable, the strength to care, and the willingness to see the humanity in each other.